All right. Good evening. It is Wednesday night. It is time to talk about West Ham. I've called tonight's show the White Flag Edition after our capitulation and surrender at Goodison Park today. I don't have any other way of looking at that game except we just gave up. Once we went down 2-1, just decided, well, you know what? 41 years without a trophy. That's fine. We'll just keep going. And I was so excited because we had this great win on Sunday, right? 4-0 win on Sunday, and I felt as though the club was turning itself around, and I was very excited to do this show. And then I remembered, oh, League Cup match Wednesday afternoon. Yeah, yeah. So here we are. Not as excited as I was 3 days ago. Anyway, I'll say all my stuff and get it out of the way. If you guys haven't looked at our website, please do, AmericanHammers.net. If you have not subscribed to this channel, please subscribe to the channel. If you want to be on the show, let us know. Find our Facebook, Twitter, any of our stuff, our social stuff, and let us know. You can email American Hammers TV, I think it is, at gmail.com. I think it's still American Hammers TV at gmail.com. So anyway, come on and let us know. Tomorrow night, if you're around, I think Katie and Rebecca will be doing their show, which is a good show, popular show. And for those of you who were just watching Hammer Shots, all right, we have the defending. I don't know if he's going to defend or not, but we have last season's Hammer Shots champion here again, John Nolan. But let me just say this: Danny, next to me, this direction, next to me, just racked up 27 points on a single episode of Hammer Shots, which is a record by far, and I think that's better than what I did on 2 different episodes. So, if you want to take on Danny, if you dare, if you think you can do it, I mean, come on and go for it. But I'm telling you, the dude is formidable. Anyway, so Danny in North Carolina. Wait, who said something? Somebody say something? I don't know. Okay, no, sorry. there's a lot of people on. I'm gonna have to pay attention to who's saying what tonight. So in North Carolina, we have Danny in the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia. John Nolan. Is that a Phillies hat or is that your West Ham hat tonight?
We're the West Ham hats tonight.
Yeah, I wore that one to my son's practice tonight. So yeah, that's a good one. Down in Colorado, down. When is Colorado down? There's no down. Out in Colorado, it's Selly, my buddy Selly, one of my favorite people to have on, as we've been on many shows together. And then my neighbor David in Boston. How's it going?
It's going wonderful, lovely.
And then the tastefully named Andrew, as I've mentioned before, that is my younger son's name. The tastefully named Andrew, who is now in, home of the Stanley Cup champions, Tampa, Florida.
Yeah.
Did you care about that at all? Are you like a Tampa guy or?
Not really. I mean, it's kind of cool, like living in the same city as a champion, because all the teams I root for kind of suck. But it was kind of exciting being around it.
Yeah, I mean, I remember I lived in New York when the Yankees won the World Series in 1996, and I hate the Yankees. And I wasn't cheering for them. Still, I mean, everybody at work was buzzing about it, and I don't know. It was a diversion,
Yeah.
Even though I didn't like it happening. So anyway, I'm glad everybody's on tonight. It's hi to everybody in the chat room too. Glad to see everybody here. I hope Tim, our OG, is feeling better. I did something to his back or something this week. So anyway, he's kind of laid up. So, think about him if you're so inclined. So as I said, Sunday, fantastic day, great weekend, absolutely brilliant. And then today I go into this game and I'm thinking, hey, maybe, maybe we've got a rested team. Because so many of our League Cup regulars who are, 30, 40 million pound players like Anderson and Allaire, they didn't really play on Sunday in particular. They're going to be rested. That we could put out basically almost a second A team. So we kind of hung with Everton, a really good Everton team. And then once we went down 2-1, I felt as though we just said, forget it. It's over. The cup run is over. We're not going to try. We made no substitutions. I don't know if Moyes lost connection from his underground bunker or wherever he is, but there was no attempt to come back and win this game. Nothing, from what I can tell. So maybe we could talk about Everton first, and then we'll get to the happier stuff later on. We'll get to Wolves, and then we'll get to Leicester this weekend. I'll start with you, Danny, our the guy who just torched hammer shots. Give us your impression from the game today. I didn't get to see the whole thing. Okay, I was sort of streaming here and there, and had to work a little bit too. So I'm not going to pretend that I'm an expert on the on the the ins and outs of it. But what was your thought after today?
I mean, I felt bad when Everton scored early. I only thought it was going to be a one-way result. We didn't offer much, and then second half we scored early, and I figured we were in a game there. And like you said, we went 2-1 behind, and to not make a sub is just I'm gonna keep it PG, but it's just embarrassing, really.
You don't have to. You don't have to. I mean,
it's fucking pathetic, to be honestly.
Yeah.
West Ham fans, I mean, if you're not going to give us a good league position, you're not going to buy us players, you're not going to help with transfer fees, you're going to complain about $50,000, at least spend it wisely and make some fucking substitutions.
Right.
Do something to change the game. We did absolutely nothing, and it's becoming a theme now that we only make substitutions like we did against Wolves. Fair enough, we already won the game.
Right.
85th minute and onwards, we make our substitutions. And it's embarrassing. It's just, we've got to be better. Great result against Wolves, and you think, okay, wonderful. And then, it's just, you turn a corner, and then it's one step forward and two steps back.
Yeah. What discourages me is I felt as though we had turned a corner against both Arsenal and Wolves. I thought the performance against Arsenal was pretty good. I thought the performance against Wolves was excellent. And, I thought we went into this game with some momentum and with a chance to actually make a cup run. I know it's a League Cup, but we haven't won a trophy since I was 6 years old. So, trophy would be nice. And then, as you said, just a total capitulation. And what's funny is we equalized, we go down 2-1, we're still in the game. You know what I mean? It's not, it's competitive. And yet it's as though Moyes just said, you know what, forget it. Just forget it. I don't know. This is what Alan Irvine said. Okay. But I mean, that doesn't even make sense to me. I don't know, John. What do you think? What was your take on today's?
It just confirmed something for me, Lee, and that was we've had a league team, we've had a cup team. This was a mishmash of players from the league team and the cup team, and it was a set of players that, for whatever fucking reason, just cannot play together, and they've proven that time after time after time. This is a set of players that is less than the sum of their parts. And I don't know why, and I don't know how you fix it. But even with some very good players in there from the Premier League team, you mix them in with the Cup team, and suddenly everything falls to shit. There were a lot of moments where we could have done something. We had some opportunities. Going forward, we weren't terrible. But it's just a bunch of players that they're not a team. Maybe they're individuals, but they are not a team. I don't know what it is. Just disappointing, and we were in it, like you said, Lee. I think we were in it up until about 75th, 76th minute, and then we just capitulated for no reason.
We just clearly said, "All right, we're not going for it this time."
I mean, I watched that whole game thinking if we put out our proper first team, we would have won that pretty well. Judging by the Wolves' performance, I can't judge it off of any others. But if we had a Rice and Souček midfield to kind of shut that all down, we would have done a hell of a lot better. 4-1 was definitely flattering on Everton, but
sure it was. Yeah, they scored a couple late after we'd given up. Yeah,
it just proves to me that set of players can't play together. I guess that's my main takeaway.
I think, and we'll get to everybody else here in a minute. One thing that struck me was we were old and slow in this game. Yarmolenko. Noble, Snodgrass, like a bunch of guys in their 30s hobbling around out there. They had no pace. We really had no pace in this starting 11 to speak of. And Everton came at us with, the A team with a lot of pace. And the thing is, we were holding our own. I mean, that's the thing is we weren't really creating a lot. But again, we were in this game halfway through the second half before we just decided, it's not for us. Anyway, what was your take, Sully?
Yeah, I wasn't able to see the game either. I was coming back from work as the game was going on. But one thing I did look into after the fact was, starting lineups and just to see what the comments were on social media. And it seems as if West Ham ran into a team that wanted it, just as bad as, we possibly wanted it beforehand.
More than
Because
we
the side
wanted
that
it.
Everton put out is not a bad side at all.
No, it's very good.
I think Everton, and I've talked to some people, once they were some people, I've talked to like 2 or 3 people about my thoughts on Everton and just from the signings and with Rodriguez basically coming on a free from what I was reading,
Yes.
they can easily finish top 7. I think
Sure
7 would probably be a bad season with what they've done. But they're second in the league for a reason. And I think that they see this as their opportunity. Yeah, I mean, I think, granted, it's early. It's the first month of the season and all that. Injuries haven't really hit anybody yet. But I think, they see this as their opportunity to go for something, whether that be the Carabao and obviously in the FA, we'll see what happens there. But, I think that's a team that wants to start moving out of the shadow of Liverpool,
Yep. Definitely, I think.
But, I saw that starting lineup that they had, and I was like, okay, yeah. I mean, and obviously our guys were in form as far as the cup team that we had.
Yeah,
but
against League One
they're not playing around.
Yeah, against League One competition, we were in form. Everton, I think you're right, Sully. They won a trophy, and even if it's the League Cup, they I don't remember the last time they won anything. I can't. It couldn't have been that long ago, but I don't remember it. So, and with Liverpool winning the league and getting all this hype, and obviously the huge success on the other side of town, I think they want something. I think they need something to appease their fans.
Everton won the FA Cup 96, maybe. It was 1-0 against Man United. It was Paul Radcliffe scored a goal.
So you're going back 25 years.
Yeah, I mean, but that's a lot better than my thing as well.
Better than us, yeah.
Before we continue, I just want to add one more point that I didn't mention earlier. The formation change didn't need to happen today. It didn't need to happen. And that's all I'm going to say. And then, move on. I've had my time. You
cannot have Cresswell without Masuaku or Masuaku without Cresswell. You put them together, they're pretty effective. You can't put them out there alone. David, what did you have? Sorry, it's taking a while.
I'm jumping a little bit on what Sully said, and even like expounding on that is I didn't get to watch the game either because I was at work the whole time. But you look at the lineup, and it just seems like almost they're capitulating before they even start the match to have Snodgrass and Noble at center midfield, 2 very slow 33-year-old players.
Right.
Snodgrass usually doesn't even play in the center midfield. Usually he's a little more on the wing. You know what I mean? He's kind of a
he never plays. Always played on the wing. He's always played on the wing. Yeah.
And then just to have Declan Rice at center back, that seems very strange too. Then you have Cresswell and Johnson at fullback, and one's unproven, one's slow, one's bad. It just doesn't seem to be a team who's set up to win the match, and it seems like that was their intention the whole time. And you say, why doesn't this work? And when you have 3 flair players or 2 flair players and Haller, who, if he's paired with someone else, can work some moments in magic, and then you just have two so fullbacks and 2 slow center midfielders in front of them. I mean, how are they even going to connect? They can only hang in the game. And I think then the fact that when we were in it, they didn't try to make any other substitution shows that perhaps this was a game we set out not to really try that hard or try hard to win. Excuse me.
Yeah, I think we might have.
Wasn't there?
I think, David, it's possible that Moyes and Alan Irvine and management in general, they might have found themselves a little bit surprised that we were in it with 15 minutes of play.
Yeah, kind of.
And maybe because I'm with you, I feel as though the team they put out had no identity. It had no pace and no identity, no engine. There's no Antonio out there to keep things going. There's no Souček to run box to box. It had no continuity. Anyway, Andrew, what was your thought on the debacle in the League Cup today?
Yeah, so when I see the lineup that they ran out, I see Haller and the three behind him, and that's fairly scary on paper. And then you look at what's behind him, you see Snodgrass and Noble, who have no pace. I struggle to understand where the link up really happens between the midfield and the more forward lying players. And I think at least with this squad this year, I don't think a back four is going to work. And I think anytime Cresswell starting in that position, I'm like, oh shit, man, here we go. Because it's been the same for the last 2 years. And another thing that kind of makes me scratch my head is with Balbuena and Rice playing center back. We all know Rice is a solid center back. He did it a couple of years ago. He could be solid basically anywhere. But I don't know if Balbuena and Rice have ever played center back together in the same game. I don't think that's ever happened, at least from what I've seen.
Valid point. I'm not sure they have either.
And so I think it's just a really strange selection. It's all mismatched. It doesn't flow.
Yeah, and I'm with everybody here. I think, clearly Everton went for this, and our approach seemed to be we're legally obligated to play this game. So, and yet here we were in it, relatively late. I'll tell you what, though, I know we didn't all get to see the game or the whole game, but I think this is a good question from Foshizi. Now, let's talk about Declan a little bit, if we could. So, rumors continue to swirl about him. X is saying Chelsea will put in a bid soon. We've seen all sorts of rumors about what Chelsea might offer, players plus cash, etc. We're hearing now different sources coming out and saying there's no way West Ham will sell Declan Rice, which means that he'll obviously go before the window is closed. If you read that, then So, two thoughts that I would like for everybody to cover. One, would they want him at center back if that's where they want to play him? Does he want to be a center back? And two, do you think he's a West Ham player on October 6th? And I'll tell you what, let's flip it around and go the other way this time. Andrew, why don't you start first?
So, if it comes down between Rice not being on the team at all and us retaining him, but he plays center back, then, I would still say keep him. I think he's just too valuable. He sees the field. He's got a vision that is a level above everybody else that's at least on our team. As far as whether or not he's going to be a West Ham player come October 6th, I have no idea, because I feel the same way. When I see something on Twitter that says, yeah, we're absolutely not giving him up, they said the same BS about Diangana and a number of other players. So,
they put a picture of Diangana up on the Twitter page the day before Sullivan sold him. You know what it reminds me of, Andrew? It reminds me of the old vote of confidence in the coach. You get this a lot in American sports. I'm not sure you get this so much in football, but in American sports, when a coach is about to be fired, the general manager or the owner always gets out and says, "Oh, so-and-so is a coach of our team." And then the next day he's gone.
Yeah.
Every time the next day he's gone. So, yeah, that's what it makes me think of. Anyway, go ahead.
At the end of the day, I would not put anything past David Sullivan. That guy is a vile human being. I fucking hate that guy. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
But,
and yes, I do too.
I don't trust him. He can say all day long that we're never going to sell him, and he can do whatever. It would not surprise me one bit. But I hope he stays.
Well, nobody can trust him because look what he did with Grady. It destabilized the whole team. Anyway, David, what's your take on Declan?
Number one, I think if Chelsea do sign him, they do want him to play center back for them.
I do too.
Because he's so young. Even though he's really developed his skills as a central defensive midfielder, they could convert him to that. I do not actually think West Ham are going to sell Declan Rice, not out of any kind of desire to improve the team going forward in the next 2 or 3 years or even this year. I think they've just calculated that if you sell Declan Rice, your chances of getting relegated increase from around 30% to 80%.
I think 30%, you're being very optimistic to say it's only 30% with him, but yes, I understand what you're saying.
Whatever the percentage is, I think that chance just increases by a huge amount. And I just think from a business standpoint, from the owners, they'll say, we don't want that. We'll lose even more money if we get relegated. It will be very hard to come back from. especially if you don't know when supporters are going to return to the stands. I just don't think it's not smart from a West Ham this year standpoint. Their quality of play on the pitch, which I don't think the owners just care that much about. I think they, I said in a previous show, I think they always target 11th to 15th, and if things go bad, maybe just avoiding relegation.
I do too.
But I think they know that if they sell Declan Rice, well, first of all, they won't have enough time to spend the money they recoup from him to sign players to avoid relegation. But more likely than not, we'll get relegated, and that will hurt them in their pockets. That's the reason I don't think they're going to sell him.
Yeah, I mean, you make a lot of good points. You make a lot of good rational arguments, which is what worries me, is that we're dealing with David Sullivan here. And everything you said makes sense. It's laid out, in a very sort of rational and I don't know, a clear-minded way, and I don't think he thinks that way at all. But I mean, let's hope that he sees things your way and does what you're talking about, because
I think he does. I think he does think that way. He thinks just let's spend the minimum amount we can to finish in a certain position. I think he does those glamour signings every once in a while with the high wages to get more interest in the team and more fans in the stands. Yeah. But the glamour signings maybe are for his ego, but maybe for us to see him at a higher level than we are. But overall, I think he's always targeting 11th to 15th around.
I think Sam Allardyce was in a lot of ways the perfect manager for West Ham, this West Ham club, not the fans, but for a club owned by Gold Sullivan Brady. Because we talked to players who played for Allardyce, and they said when he came into the club, he said, "All right, we're going to finish 10th, and here's how we're going to finish 10th," and then they did. And then basically once they were solidly mid-table, he was like, "Okay, do whatever you want. We're done." You know what I mean? Like we don't. Yeah. There's no more. We're done here. Which you could remember the season we finished 10th. That's exactly what happened. We dropped off the face of the earth.
And I think maybe they hope to get lucky, the two owners, every once in a while, and have a season like the final season at Upton Park or the Berlin Ground, whatever you want to call it, where we might finish 8th or luck into a 7th spot. But I think that's the highest of their ambition.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. Absolutely. Sully, what do you think about Declan?
I think if Chelsea were to sign him, well, I guess let me first off by saying he's not leaving this window. I don't think he's leaving this year. I think next summer is the time that Declan leaves. But if I'm Chelsea and you see the growth that Declan Rice has come as a Premier League player, it's not in the back four, because that's just – I know he came up that way, but that's just not who he is now. Now, granted, you could put him back there in emergency situations, which I think tonight was an example of that.
Yes.
But Declan Rice is who he is when he has – yeah, I mean, Declan Rice is who he is when he has, pretty much the park to run across, not necessarily just a certain part of the pitch to stand in. And I think, he's the part of the motor of the team, I think right now when he plays in that position. So I think if I'm Chelsea, if I'm going to spend that much money for him, I'm going to play him in a position that he's currently in. But at the same time, if we do sell him before this weekend, it would be a smart play on Chelsea's part, because they can, they become in control, because like, hey, look, you're trying to sell him. The window's almost closed. Like, if you're asking for 80 million, I'll give you, 50 or whatever, just, take him off your hands, and that won't help anything. But that's the position that Chelsea are in.
I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with whether he wants to go or not, and I don't actually know that he wants to go. I don't get the sense that he does. Nobody has said that he's pushing to leave.
Yeah, he's the captain right now. Yeah, I mean, I don't think Declan is the kind of player to ask for a transfer. I just don't think it's in him. And he came up through the academy, and I think he has a loyalty to the team, which isn't a universal thing.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, he is the future. He's the current captain of the team. Technically, whenever Mark Noble isn't playing,
which hopefully is going to be a lot.
His armband to fingers crossed that he doesn't play too much. But I mean, that's your selling point. Is, hey, this is your team. You're the captain. But the only other part of that selling point would be, we'll build this team around you, and that's not going to happen.
And Lee froze. What do you reckon?
Let's see if he comes back.
Let's
I
keep
enjoy watching his frozen.
That was me.
Let's keep it going.
So I guess John, you'd be next, John.
John, let's go.
What's your opinion on that?
Declan Rice, he's not leaving this transfer window, and here's the reason why. This is a club that has one scout and a bargain basement managerial unit. This is a club that does not own its stadium and sold off its own stadium, its old stadium. This is a club that has porta cabins for a training ground. Declan Rice is the most valuable asset at West Ham United. If this ownership ever wants to sell this club, they'd want to sell it with that asset intact, I would think, at the very least. If it is short term anyway, at least over the next year or so. So if there is actually any kind of sales deal coming through, Declan Rice has got to be part of that sales deal, that he is a West Ham United player when that happens. If we're looking at 2023, things could happen within the next year or two where perhaps he's allowed to leave, but he's on a long-term contract. I don't think he's leaving in the short term for those reasons alone. Number two, is he a centre-back? I think he's wasted at centre-back. I think he's such a good defensive midfielder. I think he's got more to his game than just being a centre-back, and that's not taking anything away from really great centre-backs. He can do all of the things that a great centre-back can do, and he's got a bit more. He's got the midfielder mentality. He can distribute a ball. He keeps things ticking over. He's a fantastic defensive midfield player who can only add more to his game going forward. I'm not going to slate him for tonight. He was absolutely at fault for a few of those goals that happened tonight, but you've got to take into perspective too, he's not training as a centre-back right now. He's training as a midfielder. So everything that he's doing, all the drills that he's doing, all of his positioning drills, everything that's going on is tailored for him to be a centre midfielder, and they've asked him to step into that role as a centre-back tonight, and that's part of the problem. We don't have the cover. That's why you see the players come in tonight that you've seen come in. You've seen Oxford play Johnson play again on the right-hand side. Fredericks is down. There's nobody really behind Johnson. There's nobody really behind Balbuena now that Diop's out, which we have deficiencies all over the place. And so we're papering over the cracks. We're sticking Rice in the back. It's not his position. I think it could be his position if Chelsea really wanted it to be, and he ended up there. But I think he's wasted there. So anyway, I've talked too much at this point. Dan.
I think
you're preaching the gospel right now, John.
Yeah, I think elaborating on what you're saying there, John, I agree 100%. The player that we see Declan Rice being, the player that Declan Rice has become, the player that Declan Rice gets noticed for, is not as a centre-back. It's as a defensive midfielder. The guy is class. He comes into the games, he breaks play up. He's learned over the last year to take the ball forward. He passes the ball. He doesn't dwell on it. He doesn't dribble in the midfield. He looks for the easy pass, and he does it. He's not backwards like Mark Noble. He goes both directions. He looks for the wings. He looks forward. He looks back. He does the safe thing. His possession stats as a player are unreal at West Ham. And honestly, I think he's too good for West Ham. But I don't think he's good enough for Chelsea as a centre-back. And to me, in my opinion, the only way forward for West Ham is with Rice as the captain. So does Sullivan want to get greedy and cash in and possibly risk relegation and sell the club for less than what he can get for it now? Or does he want to keep the guy, progress, and then, in a couple of years? I don't think they're selling this year. But I think it's optional. I think they're under pressure now to sell, and I think they're going to want to keep Rice for as long as they can. In my opinion, Rice signing for Chelsea is based on if Conte leaves Chelsea. You cannot play them both in the same lineup. But Declan Rice after today, he's not a centre back. So,
I don't know that I saw enough of the game today, but he didn't. I don't think he had a good performance. I'm with you, Danny. I don't think he's a center back. And I heard what John was saying before my computer crashed again, not for the first time today, about how he's the most valuable asset at the club. And I think that's true as well. Again, all these are very good rational arguments, and that's what worries me. It's that rational arguments don't always seem to make their way to the boardroom at West Ham. But so let's talk about happier stuff, if you guys don't mind. Let's go back to Sunday's performance against Wolves. So our first team now apparently does not include our 45 million pound striker. I know he came on and scored at the end. Okay, give him credit for that. But our first team does not include Sebastian Aller, does not include our 40 million pound winger. You have 100 million pounds, basically, almost, of attacking player who do not make the first team. But, Souček's been fantastic and Bowen's been fantastic. And I know Neil pointed this out, and we should mention that we seem to have signed a young center back. I don't know if he's young, but a center back from Slava Prague.
It's a right back, Lee.
The right back.
Yeah. Oh, he's a right back. Okay, I apologize. He's a right back.
Mr. Wally World.
Yeah, which is kind of weird, right? Because maybe we should go over this first, since he's a new signing. I mean, Fredericks is not my favorite player. Ben Johnson has been a little inconsistent, but he's young, and I think he's got a lot of potential at right back. I wouldn't have identified right back as our first priority, and I don't know much about this player. Do you guys have thoughts on the signing? I don't know. Why don't we start? David, why don't you start this time? Do you have thoughts on this, or do you know anything about it at all? What do you think about bringing in a right back?
Our left back would be a bigger priority if we were still playing in a 4-4-2.
Right, but we're not.
Now that we're playing with 5 at the back or 2 wing backs, suddenly Arthur Masuaku is a big weakness in the 4-4-2 becomes a strength. We move to those 3 at the back, and hopefully we look to upgrade on that. So all of a sudden, a glaring weakness isn't as big a weakness. Ryan Fredericks is injured. We don't know how long he'll be injured for. So why don't we get a cheap 6 million pound player in there? Who they said he's good going forward, just because Slavia Prague is one of the elites in the Czech league, so he doesn't have to defend as much. So why don't we get a player who's pretty good going forward? We don't know how fit in the Premier League, but at least he's played Champions League with Slavia Prague, and they said he's held his own when they played the big boys in Champions League. So it fills a weakness. I don't think it's our biggest weakness, but one of our main weaknesses right now. So with the Fredericks injury, so why not address it?
Yeah, and you're right about left back was my biggest concern going into the season, but now that we've switched to this wing back formation where we have Cresswell and Masuaku kind of coming together, two weak parts that actually make a pretty strong whole. You're right. Right back becomes more of a priority because Johnson is young, a little inconsistent. Fredericks is obviously injured again. Sally, what do you think about this guy? Any thoughts? He is 28. I'd love to see somebody come in who's more like 24 or 23 or 24, but I feel as though we're an old team already. But anyway, what do you think, Sally?
I think it's another panic buy that if we didn't have Thomas Souček and if he didn't perform well, that we probably wouldn't have even attempted to do business with this club again. Because at the end of the day, like you said, he's older. I mean, I'm older than he is, but he is in the grand scheme of sports. His like half his. I'm 29. Yeah, 29. Born
Are you 29? I thought you were younger than that for some reason. Okay, never mind. You're just an old man.
No, yeah, I'm 29. But I mean, I when I saw it, I just laughed and I was just like, we're going to sign him cheap because we don't spend money on defenders, just so the board can say that we spent money on somebody after all the good players were already taken. It's like, oh well. We were linked to 2,000 players, and the last one that was on our list, eventually signed for us. Like it's honestly ridiculous, and it's a joke. But I mean, if he signs for the club, hey, good luck to him. He's not going to have any pressure on him whatsoever. But
I suppose you're right about that. I don't know much about him as a player. I just don't. I'm not going to pretend that I follow Slava Prague. I'm not. I don't. What I don't like is that he's a little older than I would like. I know 28's not over the hill, but I thought we were going for young and hungry players, but we let a lot of those guys slip by, and then we sold one different position, but we sold one in Diangana. So, Andrew, we'll keep on with the bottom row. Andrew, what do you think?
So, I mean, I would say at the very least, it addresses a position. So at left back, you've got Cresswell and Masuaku, who can, at the very least, be put in that position. They may not play well. Obviously, I thought Masuaku played phenomenally in the wingback role. But if this guy is good going forward and we stick with three at the back and wingbacks, it could turn out to be a decent signing. Plus the fact that he's coming from Slava Prague, played with Suchek previously. I think it could work. But at the end of the day, we've missed / not gone after the people that we should be going after. Yeah. Like especially at that position, like we missed on Matty Cash. We missed on. I don't even know if we went after Rico Henry. We've missed on a ton of different guys that have already established themselves in England, and we've made little to no effort to go after those guys. But at the very least, you've got one more body to put in that position.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I think you and Sally, what you touch on is how I feel, which is basically we let a lot of guys go for whatever reason, and maybe Darren and Fo are right about this, and maybe nobody wants to do business with us. We don't pay for players when we buy them. We have to have FIFA step in and make us pay off our payments. Sullivan puts everybody on layaway, so maybe there's something to do with it. I don't know. But Danny, what do you think?
Don't know much about the guy. I watched some clips today. It looks like he's a good offensive player. But
somebody thinks Andrew looks like Thomas Suchek.
I don't think that was okay. He looks like a Czech football player.
Are you guys seeing it? Or well, maybe it's I don't know.
I can see him playing for the Czech Republic.
Yeah. All right. I'm sorry, Danny. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
It was funny.
Hey, have your laugh, buddy. Get it out.
I will.
This guy on YouTube looks like he's good going forward, but so does Arthur Masuaku. So do we play this guy as a right back or do we play him as a right wing back? That's my big question. Also, the fact that he's 28 does not scare me. It's a guy that is not too old. He's got some years in him, and it's not a guy that's too young, which means he's got experience in him. So, yes, he's only played in a shit league, and he's probably not going to come in and do the damage right away. But I can guarantee that Suchek, who is arguably one of our top 3 players in our squad right now, has said something to whoever in the back room. Probably not Sullivan or Gold because, they don't listen to shit.
Well, Sullivan doesn't. I don't think he talks to the players at all. Yeah.
Suchek has probably had a word and said, go have a look. And they've done it. So they've seen something. The board are stingy on their money. So
COVID, Danny. It's the COVID. Nobody can spend.
Yeah, well, 6 million's a bargain buy. I think also, like Ricky said earlier, and Sally said, it's a panic buy, but it could work out. I mean, Fredericks can't complete a pass, and Johnson is young, but if he plays as right wing back, then it might work. But we've got to see. We've got to give him time to gel. Don't get on his ass right away, and just see what happens. So he's coming from a shit league to the best league in the world. Give him a chance to do what he can do.
I don't mind him being a recommendation from Suchek either. I mean, because Suchek's been a great player for us, and he's physically imposing, and he's fast. He puts out a lot of effort. Everybody loves Suchek, and I think rightly so. So, if he sees him a little bit of himself in this guy, then that gives me some confidence. And plus, as everybody said, I'm not sure anybody else would do business with us anyway. John? What's your take?
Suchek, Ludo, Thomas Repka. He's going to come in. He's going to nut Dele Alli in the face. And he's going to become an instant hero at West Ham.
Please let that happen.
When it comes to West Ham.
Please let that happen. That'll be only a couple of weeks from now, right? Then we play them pretty soon, right?
I think like 2 games from now, yeah.
Like 2 games from now. Oh, man. Please let that happen. Yeah, there have been some – it is true that there have been some legendary checks. I guess they checked themselves before they wrecked themselves, or maybe they wrecked somebody else. Nice. I don't know. Anyway, it really wasn't very good.
Well done, well done.
But yeah, I guess there have been some legendary checks. Listen, I'm with Sally. Good luck to him. That's all I could say. If Souček recommended it and he gives us anything like what Souček has given us, then he'll be a good signing. So let's go back to Wolves and look forward to Leicester. I know Wolves were a little bit poor on Sunday, but I don't really care. I thought we were fantastic and best we've played in a long, long time. Best win we've had over a club at that level in a long time. So I think Wolves are still a good team with good players. This wasn't Norwich from last season. So presumably we'll go back to the wing back formation. We'll go back to Antonio, Souček, Bowen. We'll put Yarmo and Allaire and Anderson on the bench. And I'm not sure I ever care if Anderson plays for us again. I felt that way for a long time. We'll go back to what we were doing, presumably. What do you think we're going to see against Leicester? Or do we see the team that beat Wolves 4-0 pick up where they left off? Or does this League Cup match have the same kind of poisonous effect that Oxford disaster had last season? I'm wondering what you guys think we're going to get, and maybe we just go around in order this time. I'll go back to Danny. What do you think for Leicester? What do you think is going to happen? Formation, performance, and whatever.
I think we react. I think we go back to the 5. I'm presuming Diop is still out with the COVID.
I believe that's the case. Yes, okay, it's probably. I would think 2 weeks of quarantine would be.
Okay, so I'm hoping we go Masuaku, and then it fucking hurts me to say it, but Cresswell, Balbuena, and Ogbonna are center back, and Ben Johnson is right back. Give the guy a chance to do a couple of training sessions before he plays right back. But I think we go back to the 5-3-2.
Yeah.
I have an unpopular opinion that I've been trying to get across for months now. In my opinion, Fornals is slow, and unless he's on the ball, he's not a good player.
Really? See, I think I kind of like Fornals. I think he's putting in some effort.
There's certain parts of his game that I watch him, and I'll take a player, and if I see one bad game, then for the next 3 games, instead of watching the whole 11, I'll watch that one specific player and see what he does right and what he does wrong.
Yeah.
So the game last season against Newcastle, when he cost us the offside goal, when Shelby scored right after we went 2-1 up from Souček's goal, that's a player that, okay, I see he doesn't track back, or when he does track back, he's out of position. I've seen him do that many times. So to me, in the cup games lately, Lanzini has been performing. Fornals has not been horrible, but there's room for improvement.
Would you have Lanzini instead of Fornals? Because we've been having and where would you put either one of them? Because we don't.
I would not change it immediately, but if I'm David Moyes, the player that would replace Fornals for me would be Lanzini. I would go back to the same lineup that we did against Wolves, but I would honestly include Haller from the start. And I don't know who I would take out to include Haller.
Yeah.
But he scored 5 goals this season, and he's played how many minutes? I mean,
Danny, what does Lanzini offer? Because for me, he offers nothing.
Well, we get the Lanzini back from before ACL injury, and he offers a lot. There was a time when Liverpool came in for him, Man United were interested in him, and we were all like, don't sell him. Kind of like what we're doing with Rice right now.
But do you think but this is what I wonder, what Ricky's asking. I mean, is he ever going to be back? I'm not seeing any signs that he's ever going to be back.
Not immediately. I mean, unless you give the guy a chance, unless you give the guy a run, we're never going to see the Lanzini before the injury. If we're going to give the guy a run, why not do it early in the season rather than late when we need it? If he doesn't perform, then you bring Fornals back in. To me, Fornals is a good player, not a great player, but there's a lot of comparisons to that game. In my opinion, Fornals is the better player, so I'm kind of contradicting myself.
But Fornals, and we've been playing him out of position too. We keep playing him on the left. He's a 10.
Exactly.
He's an attacking center midfielder.
Exactly, and that's where maybe Fornals has gone a little bit sideways because he's not a left mid. Right. You put Fornals in the hole, and that's fine. To me, maybe if Fornals is going to play this week, you put him behind Haller. You put Antonio on one wing, Bowen on the other. But
I could go for that.
But
I can definitely see that.
He's
Yeah.
got to play in a specific position. I'm not saying he's a bad player, but I recognize certain aspects of games, and I concentrate on it. And that is the one player that I'm just like, okay, what are you going to do this game to convince me that you deserve to play in this team? And I see certain things in the game that he's
So
like,
just to play a little bit of devil's advocate on what you were saying, Danny, as far as giving Lanzini a try, since before his ACL injury, hasn't he had like a season and a half worth of a try to kind of be back to that player?
how many games has he played in a row that he's even had the chance to gel with the players? Chemistry is a big part of football.
Well,
yeah.
It was a very small sample size, but I don't know if people remember, but coming back from the restart, David Moyes did play him at center attack midfielder, I believe, for 2 games. I know that's a very limited sample size, but you need to survive relegation. And he did not impress. And then he immediately moved, in a strange move it seemed, but he moved Noble to center attack midfield. So he had a slight chance after the restart, and he did not take it.
I love the limited number of games. Before I made this comment, I am so glad that I said the words unpopular opinion, because you've all got
Hey, that's why we're here. No, that's why we're here. That's why we're here.
It's just, I wish we could have the Lanzini back that we first signed. I mean, it's there somewhere, but where is it? Is he scared to get kicked? Is he scared to run? It kind of comes. I do a lot of comparisons from Lanzini to Daniel Sturridge. He's a hypocrite of his injuries. He's just okay. We'll start Fornals this week, and Lanzini can sit on the bench. Go to the next person, Lee, so I get off my ass.
No, I gotta pile on, Dan. I gotta stick up for Fornals. I have to stick up for Fornals, and that's for one reason or 2 reasons. He just works his bollocks off, and he's played out of position. So I think you've got to give him credit in 2 areas. I mean, until like our 3rd goal against Wolves, he was involved in every goal that we had scored so far this season.
Yeah.
And then second of all, he's been asked to do so much. So when we're in our own half, he's asked to play left wing. When we're in the opposition's half, he's being asked to play as a number 10. So he's trying to swing in from the left-hand side and be, pinch in and be in and around Haller. But when he's going backwards, then suddenly we kind of go back to a 4-4-2 almost. He's being asked to cover so much ground. I don't know. To me, he's not being played in position, and yet he's still contributing almost every week.
I'll tell you what impressed me, John, was our first goal on Sunday. The quickly taken free kick was just brilliant to me. I mean, it was like in the moment. Do you know what I mean? With urgency and creativity and I don't know, just thought.
Awareness. Yeah.
It's good awareness. That's what I'm saying. It's Declan puts the ball in, Antonio gets tumbled over. Fornals looks around and he's like, I'm just going to play this thing, And it worked. It worked in part because Bowen came up with a fantastic finish with 3 defenders around it. But I love the fact that there was urgency. We lack that in this team. We lack pace. We lack urgency. There's a lot of walking around, walk it up, walk it in, pass 1,000 times side to side. You know what I mean? I love the fact that we're just like down their throats. I'm sounding like Tim now, but that's how I feel. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead, John. I didn't mean to.
No, that's pretty much all I say. I see where Dan's coming from. I mean, if you're going to talk about neither of them are left wingers either, to be honest. And Lanzini's kind of been shoehorned in out to that left-hand side as well for what reason? I don't know, because we don't have a traditional left winger. And
we did, but we sold him.
Well, yeah, there is that.
I mean, because we remember we have 8 guys who can play on the wing. Don't forget that. 8 guys.
Yeah, definitely in the Moyes system, you've got to work. And if you can't work, you're not going to play. And that's why Haller isn't starting. He's not as mobile. That's why Anderson isn't playing. He's not pulling his weight. And that's why Lanzini isn't playing. He's too lightweight, and he's not getting up and down as much as he should.
Yeah. Anderson's disinterested. I've said it now for a couple of seasons. I'm not the only one. I don't see anything from him that shows me anything different. And I think you're right about
him tonight, Lee. Does he need his own section?
I didn't. What'd you say? Sorry.
I said, are you getting on to Anderson tonight? Does he need his own section, or does that just go without saying?
Listen, the guy's talented, and if you go back 2 seasons, he was fantastic, and everybody loved him. And whatever's happened, he's not happy here anymore. All right. Look, when I was at my last job and I wanted to leave, I half-assed it because I didn't like working there anymore. I was looking for another job. I was trying to get out. People do that. It's okay. It's not great when you're a multi-million-pound Premier League footballer and you're answering to millions of fans around the world. But you know what? It's a human instinct that people do. You don't like something, you're gonna slow down a little bit. Look for something else. People do it. I mean, I think that's what he's doing. Sully, what do you think about what we're going to have on? Is it Sunday, right? The next Sunday, not Saturday, right?
Yeah, it's on Sunday.
Sunday, yeah. What are we going to do? What's happening on Sunday?
I definitely see them putting out the same starting 11 as it was against Wolves. If kind of going back to what Danny was saying, I would love to see Haller play up top with Antonio. And if you're dropping somebody, I would probably drop man, that's hard. I'd probably drop Balbuena. No, I don't know. I really don't know who I would drop because that's crazy. It's really dangerous when you talk about who's going to drop because it just leaves a gap. But
Cornell.
Well, you could, but then
you could. You could.
Well, no, so you very well could. You could just bump Masuaku up and play a 4-4-2, and I mean it would work out just fine.
He has to play.
Yeah, Masuaku definitely has to play. I agree, 100%. I don't want him playing in the back line. I want him playing in the midfield where he can be free and do his thing and use his pace.
Yep.
And he's not a liability on defense. And man, yeah, that's what I think is going to happen because I think that starting 11 deserved it. The one takeaway I definitely took from that Wolves game was the fact that we went for it. We were up 1-0.
Yes.
We didn't defend the entire time. We got up 2-0. We didn't revert to defending, 3-0 and so on. So I think that's huge. I would love to see Haller get some more time because I think with the exception of today's game, he's been playing well. He's scored pretty much every game he's been in. So I would like to see that. And just real quick before I stop, I will say to Danny's point about Lanzini, if he was to still be the player he was before his injury, I honestly think he would be the face of the team because he was the second favorite player outside of Payet before he got hurt. And when Payet was talking about leaving, everybody was like, okay, well, Lanzini will take over, and then one thing happened. And, and not only that, but Lanzini's an easily marketable dude, tattoos for days, he's got
to get
the ladies love him and all that. So,
nice but young South American guy, he's marketable. I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I know there's arguments that a lot of his success came off the back of Payet, but the entire team's success came out the back of Payet. So, I mean, because you can say the same for Cresswell. Cresswell has not even been the same player since he's touched his single foot in the London Stadium.
Sad but true. Yeah.
But anyway, I know those two guys, David and Andrew, are waiting, so I'll stop.
I know, and I'm sorry. We got a lot of people on tonight. David, so now you are apparently our Pablo Fornal's doppelganger tonight. I don't know. I guess I'm seeing it a little bit.
It's la verdad.
I guess I'm seeing it a little bit. Fornals and Souček. So give us your thoughts.
My thoughts are that we're going to go with the exact same lineup that we went with in the Wolves matchup. I think Bowen, Fornals, and Antonio are working very well together. I think Antonio's physicality really frustrated Wolves. I think the story for us against Leicester is going to be chances taken, opportunities taken. Yeah. I think actually watching the match, Wolves had the better of us those first 16 minutes until the goal. They didn't dominate, but they had the better of us overall. They got very frustrated by the first goal. Then we still attacked. It was still a counterattack game, even though we weren't playing back, we weren't defending the whole time. Then you score that second goal. You've converted on a huge percentage of your opportunities, and that frustrates the team more and more you're playing against. I think we did the opposite against Arsenal. I think against Arsenal, we had tons and tons of chances. We were the better team, like we were in the Wolves match. but we didn't convert on our chances and we lost. So the key to me is the percentage of chances we convert, and that's the key to me in the 5 at the back system, or whatever you want to call it.
I think that's often the case with us too, and which is why, to me, the argument for getting Allaire in and putting him up top is that you have a finisher. There you go. There you go. That looks very nice. You didn't brew that. That's not a home brew though. There you go. Danny's more American than he might maybe thinks he is.
If I would have drank one of them, I wouldn't have got 27 points.
Right, exactly. No, but I think the argument for getting Allaire in somehow is that he is a finisher in a way that Antonio isn't. Antonio scores a lot of goals and he's been great for us. He's our engine. I love having him out there. He's not really even a striker at all. He's not a great clinical striker. I think with somebody who's more clinical, we could score more goals.
I mean, he scores a lot of goals. He scored a lot of goals in the last.
He has.
I think, how can you argue against the amount of goals he scored?
Oh, I'm not arguing. No. Listen, I love Antonio. I really do. Antonio is my favorite West Ham player right now, and I'm not arguing against the amount of goals he scored. I'm only saying that if his percentage of conversion was higher, the guy would be a superstar. I
mean that he's increased his percentage of conversion over
the
restart and in this season, and
it has gotten better. Yes, especially after the restart, it's gotten better. It has. I agree with that. I still think he misses a lot of chances, but as I said, I think he's got to be out there. I mean, whether he's up front or not, he's our engine and he's our spark. He gives us identity and pace too. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it worries defenses. Anyway, Andrew, and you guys jump in. You don't have to go turn by turn if you don't want to. Whenever you're ready, jump in. Andrew, what's your feeling?
I'm trying not to be rude. I'm trying to figure out where I'm gonna
be rude. It's fine to be rude. Don't worry about it. Jump in.
I agree. I mean, I think Antonio has been absolutely huge for us, especially since the restart. I think he's one of those guys that when you play him in, whatever role, he figures out a way to create opportunities and create chances. And I think that he's got that.
Is that you smoking?
You've probably heard it a million times on Dave and X's podcast. He doesn't even know what he's going to do with the ball when he's got the ball.
Right.
But he creates these opportunities, and I don't think that is a quality that Haller really has. It seems for me. We've got enough of a body of work with Haller that he's not going to put in a huge shift. He's not going to be chasing down balls and stuff. He requires.
He needs service. Yep.
Yeah.
And probably a strike partner. Yeah.
He requires a lot. He's a good finisher, but those opportunities need to be there. And I think with Antonio, you can give him shit and he'll figure something out, And I would say in regard to, the starting lineup this Sunday, I don't think that you can really change it. I don't see, with the exception of maybe Fornals, even though he's been involved with a number of goals, I don't see how you can really change that lineup. I was thinking,
yeah.
I was rewatching the highlights before the show, and I was watching some of the actions that Balbuena took, and I thought he played pretty well in his role, like in that back three on that right half of the field. And I think that with a little less responsibility instead of a back two, I think that maybe he could be serviceable. But my concern with Leicester is, because they're a pretty high scoring team, pretty offensive minded team. We gotta make sure that we protect that net, because I'm not super confident about us going out and doing the same thing that we did this past weekend.
A clean sheet seems very unlikely.
Can I ask one question to everyone in the chat room? And just a one-word answer. Would you start Haller or Fornals? Just one-word answer. Haller or Fornals?
All right, let's see if we can get a little thing. We don't have a poll. We don't have a poll capability on this, I don't think. But
just a one-word answer.
Chat room people. If you're paying attention, Haller or Fornals?
The thing that's interesting with that too is, you have, how many teams can you think of on the top of your head that has 2 straight seasons of club record signings that start your top flight games on the bench? Like, I understand that Anderson isn't who he used to be, and I know that Heller must have shagged Moyes' wife to not get a chance. But at the same time, it's like you legitimately have like 70 million pounds just chilling on the bench between two people.
Wasn't Anderson 40 and Haller was 45? I mean,
so
Anderson
85
like
million
37,
pounds, even
38
better.
or something.
Was he? Okay, so you're climbing in the 80 million pound
Who would you
range.
start?
Yeah,
You take away.
Haller. I will start Haller every week.
Over
Easy.
Cornell.
I think those guys on the
100%. Yeah.
I think
So-
the record signing, I think that points to the lack of strategy and the lack of vision this club has. I mean, we've heard it a million times. They try to pick these random players and they throw them all together and hope it works out. I think that if you go after a player like Haller and he's going to be that central focus of your guy scoring goals, you have to get guys that are going to put balls in the box, because he's not going to be like a Marko Arnautovic. He's not going to be like Antonio creating creating opportunities out of shit. I think that we don't have any of the other pieces that make Haller successful. And I think that's like he produced in Frankfurt because he had that. And
exactly.
We don't have the pieces in place to get him in a position to be successful and score the goals that we want him to score.
So you keep Fornelsen.
I would, man. Like he doesn't blow me away, but I think that with the performance that we had, I would keep it the same. I think the substitutions thing, that's a whole separate conversation. Maybe you look to pull him, with 20 minutes to go and put somebody else in. But yeah, I think you keep the starting lineup the same.
I think, Andrew, what you mentioned about having no sort of cohesion or vision for the club. I mean, this is what John was talking about when we started tonight with the team that we put out there tonight, which if they don't play together, they have no reason to play together. They have no identity together. And you get that with, as you can see with our buying strategy. Remember, Haller was a panic buy because we didn't get Maxi Gomez, right? Maxi Gomez was supposed to be the guy. He didn't want to come. He went to wherever he is, Valencia. And right. And so it was like, we got to find somebody, So we went out and maybe overspent for Haller, but he didn't fit into anybody's system. Pellegrini's system, Moyes' system, he doesn't fit into our system at all. We just looked at him and said he scores a lot of goals and he'll get the fans excited. And, Sullivan went out and signed him. There's no identity. Well, you can't have that anyway.
Yeah, I was going to say, one thing that I think is huge too is, to go, with the identity piece is, like when you have Leicester, right, and you probably already know who's going to be in that starting 11, right? Tottenham the week after that, you pretty much know who you're going to face. Yep. Who is it? Manchester City after that, for sure who you're facing that, and Liverpool. I guess my point is you're never going to get that cohesiveness when you don't start your best 11. Like professional sports is not a thing to care for people's feelings. Like if you're not the best, you're not starting. Like I do not care. Get better. Like be good enough to be ready when it's your turn. But like if I have, and I mean even to the effect of Anderson, I know I was saying all this money's on the bench, but he's not up to par. So okay, you're chilling until the 75th minute. And I'll even think about bringing you on then. But everybody we play, even the teams that just got brought up, we're the only team that you have no idea who's going to be in the starting 11 from one weekend to the next. And it's absolutely mind-boggling because I think that's the biggest piece, right? You can't form an identity when you don't even have the same players playing with each other. That's why Fornals gets put out of position. That's why, Antonio's played all over the pitch, and just so on and so forth. I think we only have like a handful of players that where they're going to play. And we have even less amount of players that who are going to start every week. So I think it's just incredible that and it's been for years, ever since I've been maybe outside of the final season at the Bowl Inn, because who was going to start those games. But ever since we moved in and even before then, it's like you have no idea.
Yeah, and as Fo says, and as you were saying, Silly, as we've all said, there is no football philosophy. One thing I'll say is that I love the fact that Moyes has gone to this wing back, this 5 at the back system. I didn't think he'd ever change his formation. And I mean, it seems to be working. So it shows that maybe there's some, adaptability or flexibility there. And I wondering too, Arthur Masuaku to me feels like our redemption story of the season. I never thought he was I never thought he was a bad player.
That's fake.
I just thought he was out of position. I don't know. You think he's like for real? Is this going to work for us going forward? Or
yeah, well, I just think he's for real because he did good when they did this before. When instead of Antonio, Arnautovic was the lone striker. They did the exact same thing, the exact same system, and he's shown in that. And he's good in this system they currently have had the last 2 games. That formation, he's not good in a 4-4-2.
Yeah. He's not a defender. He's not a defender. He's not a fullback, but I've always thought he had skill and pace, and those are 2 pretty good things to start with right there. That's not a bad way to get going. So obviously we don't know. We have an idea of what our starting 11 will be. We have an idea of what Leicester's will likely be. The next 3 games, and was it Leicester, Tottenham? The next 4 was it Leicester, Tottenham, Manchester City, Liverpool? Is that right? I mean, it's
right.
It's if we survive this with even a couple of points, you'd hope that
7
after that.
points there, Lee. 7 points.
Well, let me tell you that I thought we would not get any points after we lost to Newcastle. I didn't think we get any points through the first 7 games, and then we went out and beat Wolves 4-0. And I looked at the starting 11 for Wolves, and I said to myself, Allaire on the bench again. This isn't going to work. And we went out and we dominated that game. So I don't really, obviously know what I'm talking about. But do you guys want to throw around, and I know it's only Wednesday and the game days away, but what do you think is going to happen prediction-wise, score-wise? You want to throw something out there just for fun? Anybody. I don't care.
Are we home or away?
We are away. Not that anybody's going to be
the
there.
next 2 games.
Okay.
We're it's everything
3-1 Leicester.
3-1.
I'm gonna go 2-2.
Yeah.
I get a point out of that. 2-2.
2-1 Leicester.
I'm gonna go 1-1. We drew up there with 10 guys, a couple of years ago, so it can be done.
Sure, we did.
As long as Noble doesn't play, we can get a point out of this game.
Yeah.
That's a fantastic point.
That's a great point. John, what do you think?
I don't think.
Don't be
I have no idea. I don't know which West Ham's going to show up.
There's no way to know. That's what I'm saying. You don't know who's starting. You don't know if somebody's going to come down with COVID 3 hours before the game. It's just banter. You know what I mean?
I thought we were going to get better with the line that we had up against Wolves, but look what happened there.
Yeah,
I did too.
3-1 West Ham.
Go on, John.
There you go, John.
Hey.
We'll be all right. Skicek's going to cover the middle. Rice is going to close down Madison, and they're not going to be able to play anything up. We'll be fine.
Gary's not super positive. I would love a point out of this game. I think a point would be fantastic. I think Danny's prediction of 2-2 is close. I think we lose, but I think it's like a 3-2. I think it's a high scoring game. I think we'll score. I don't think we can stop their attack. I think Vardy gets at least 2. I don't know. Could be wrong. Andrew, you're right. We went up there. I think it was the day their owner was killed in the helicopter.
Yeah.
We drew 1-1 the last time we were there. So, which obviously a really horrible memory, but
and then we lost to their B team when they came here.
Right.
Who was there when the helicopter crashed?
Yeah, and if I recall in that game, they were.
Last time we played at Leicester,
we should have won that 1-0.
Was that the last time we played at Leicester, though? It wasn't, was it?
Yeah, was that a dodgy penalty?
That was 2 years. That was 2 years.
There was some sort of dodgy penalty, if I remember correctly.
The crash was 2 years ago.
That's when Joa scored that late. No, it wasn't that. It was Balbuena scored a tap-in, a header off the post. He scored a tap-in on the rebound. I don't remember.
We played him twice within about a month in January or February, right?
Yeah.
And both games, they came out at their fucking worst, and we still managed to lose to them.
I'm talking about the game where the owner's helicopter crashed. I think that was our final season at the Berlin.
They had it wasn't that long ago, was it? Maybe it was. Nah. They had one game where I remember. Now I think this was Leicester, but I have no memory, so I don't know. But they had a penalty right at the end of was this Leicester or was this Spurs?
That's when they won the league, Lee. Joa scored and Cresswell scored a volley.
Right.
We got a penalty right after, like 90th minute. Ochoa scored the penalty.
They won the league.
I remember that penalty being pretty bogus.
Yeah, they won the league in the Payet season, and I do think you're right. I think you're right. It was a bogus penalty at the end.
It was
right at the end. Yeah, I think it was
against West Ham. VAR still would have fucking given it, assholes.
So maybe one more thing before we go, if you guys are up for it. Let's just talk about it. Nobody wants to talk about it, but Mark Noble, Mr. West Ham, we all love him. We can't see him again, can we? I mean, not in the starting 11, surely, right?
Correct. Noble, to me, has played 16, 17 great seasons. It's time to pass the torch over to Declan Rice and start the new chapter. Give him 20 minutes a game if we're winning. Don't freeze him out completely based on what he's done, but he's not a starter anymore. Give him his year, but I think January, February, you might be getting something on SkySports.com saying Mark Noble set to retire at the end of the season. I won't be surprised, and unfortunately, it's going to be a big loss, and I'm going to be upset when it happens. But I'm not upset when he's not in the starting lineup anymore. So it's kind of a 50-50 toss-up.
I just don't see what he brings us. I mean, what does he bring? Can anybody think of, other than passion, which we all love, what does he bring us?
I think leadership is a big thing. I think he does bring leadership, and he is a leader. He really is. I've met the guy 3 or 4 times. A great guy. Talks very highly of the club. Very, very invested in West Ham. But he knows. I mean, he said something. I think it was last season he said something. And he said he shouldn't be the sub that comes on when we're losing the game. We shouldn't have to rely on him anymore. He knows.
He knows. Yeah, he knows. I can't. I mean, even the fact that he was in the starting 11 today, very puzzling to me, in all honesty. I mean, I feel as though it's time to sort of get him his coaching badges. The thing that upsets me the most about Mark Noble is that unless we win the FA Cup, and that doesn't seem likely, he's not going to win a trophy in his however many years at West Ham, and he's not going to have that, that Billy Bonds, sort of Trevor Brooking level of fame or legend because we never could get it done for him. Everybody else who's in that upper tier of, like, you name a stand after him, Brooking, Bonds, Bobby Moore, they've all won something with the club. Noble's not going to get that unless you count the Betway Cup a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I think one thing that's really interesting with Mark Noble, and obviously nobody who's a fan, who's followed the team closely, will say a single bad thing about him, as a person and a player. But it's interesting because I think, if anybody has seen that Batman with the Joker, where he's like, you're the hero, or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. Like, I think that's the part. That's where Mark Noble is right now. Like, not that he's been playing too long, but he doesn't provide enough on the field to where when he's on, that people get excited for it. And I think there are certain games that you play him. Maybe the games that where the team isn't necessarily as pacey. Any team that we play that has any amount of pace, he should not touch the field. Because he's going to slow us down, like and he's not going to be able to track anybody down. Yeah, no, exactly, 100%. And but if we're playing like your Villas, your Burnleys, your Brighton, stuff like that, sure, put him in there because he can get in, he can do something in those matches. But he just doesn't have the pace. I think he's an excellent distributor. I think he can put a hell of a service in. But at the same time, I mean, I feel like any goal that I can remember him scoring is either a penalty or like a half volley that just so happens to go in.
Yeah.
But not that he needs to be the guy who scores us the goals anyways.
Right.
And we remember the last goal he scored a couple years ago.
Oh, who could forget it? Yeah, that was the bowl in season. Yeah, it was beautiful.
I mean, I think the thing about Noble is, as much as we love him, we should love him. Let's not pretend that he was ever a world-class player. He was never capped for England. Do you know what I mean? And quite frankly, West Ham have a lot of legends like this, if we're honest. Even Billy Bonds, as great as he was, as much as he gave, again, never capped for England. Some of our legends are not, they're not global superstars. And I think you have to put Mark Noble into that category. And I think he's been occasionally good the last 2 or 3 seasons, but the more he plays, the more he drags us down with his lack of pace. And I hate to say it, but I think that's just where we are. I don't know. You guys have any more thoughts on that?
No.
Yeah.
I agree.
No,
Yeah?
Mark Noble is as good as the players around him and always has been. He has exceptional vision. He has an exceptional passing range. He's not blessed with pace. And I think you saw the best of him in the seasons where you had players like a Payet around him. Mark Noble would have been a very good player for England because he would have had great players around him, and I think he would have excelled in such a setup. I think that he's very unfortunate the time that he played football. I think that Mark Noble came through a time where the Premier League started to mean more than anything else, where cups didn't mean as much, where getting relegated, staying up meant more than getting relegated and still having a cup run.
Right.
Where the Premier League means so much that, I really think that he's been a great captain and a great servant to the club. And he gets stick from time to time, and we go back and forth. I've gone back and forth a million times over Noble, where he's too slow, games pass him by, and then 3 weeks later he puts in a set of 5-6 games in a row where he's Mr. West Ham captain.
He's still capable of doing that. Yeah,
he is, and I think we're at that transition phase. I don't disagree with that. I think we're at the transition, and hopefully Rice is around for a bit longer term where he can pick that transition up. I think our centre of midfield is more than capable with Rice and Souček.
Yep.
And he's coming in as relief for the last 20 minutes, half hour, just to firm a game up. But, he's a very good player. I don't want to – I would hate to not look at him as being a very good to almost exceptional player that could have made it at the highest levels with the best players around him. There was a reason Arsenal was sniffing at the door for him. There was a reason that he was England under-21 captain. He's a very, very good player that we were very fortunate to have. Just wasn't blessed with other good players around him at West Ham.
Yeah. Yeah, and the practical reality is that, as you said, he is still capable of putting together a string of good games, but he's also capable of dragging us down, making us slower, giving us sort of less pace, less attacking flair. And we have younger guys who can step in now. Anyway, I'm mostly out of topics for once. You guys want to introduce something? Drop something in? I know David and Andrew, I feel as though we didn't get to you a lot. So if you guys want to go on rants or something, then take off.
I'm just
no rant.
happy to be here.
Well, I'm happy you're here. We're happy everybody's here. So yeah, I guess this is like the shortest show I've done in months, which is weird because we actually had a 4-0 win to talk about. But I guess if you're not complaining too much, then don't go on as much.
I love how sober and not tired John Nolan looks right now.
It's depressing. I'm normally much more tired and much less sober.
I would like to thank Pablo Fornals and Thomas Souček for joining us tonight.
It's pretty rare that we get guys like that on. So
Ricky Gervais hosting the show. Ricky
Oh, I wish I had his talent, but that guy's a douche. I wish I had his talent because he is.
I love my West Ham family. You guys stuck by me with my little struggles and my health issues.
Oh, we're with you, Danny. Listen, all of you. We're with all of you. Everybody in the chat room, everybody watching, everybody on the show. We're all in this together. And when people ask me why I'm West Ham, it's because of you. It's not because of the club. It's not because of the players. It's because of everybody here and everybody in the chat room and everybody on Twitter and everybody in East London and Essex and all over the world, really. So
I love it, man. I love how close we are, and I hope me and Tommy can remain close after this season.
Oh man, the whole thing was just a setup.
That's not even fair. You know he thinks about it.
I mean,
Daddy from the top rope. He was just up there.
Tommy, last season you beat me. You beat me 15-14. I said, I've been studying, I've been watching, and now it's time. He said,
I forgot you were on. I was going to say, did you study for this? You must have. There's no way you just knew all that.
I mean, I know I was a season ticket holder for 9 years.
Oh, no, I know you were, but I'm just saying, like, that's. Did you hit the books a little bit? And if so, which books did you hit?
You think West Ham top scores? There's been 10 scores. West Ham over 100, and you think your top 5 obvious ones. And I just won that round pretty good. And then I don't want to go into it. It was a lucky night. It was a good night, and it was fun.
Well, I'll tell you. My tonight I went to my older son's soccer practice. Sorry, I use the word soccer when I talk about him. So not Andrew, but Isaac. And the rules about COVID in Massachusetts and particularly in Chelmsford this season are really ridiculous, and they're not really able to play proper games on Saturdays. So their coach is having them scrimmage during practice, which they love because that's the only time they're really getting to play. And my son is not the fastest kid. But he scored an absolute corker tonight. He scored a fantastic goal in a scrimmage tonight, and I was so proud of him. He usually doesn't like – he kind of plays on the wing, and he's kind of big and intimidating, and he's pretty good at taking the ball away and then distributing it, right? He doesn't like to dribble, doesn't like to shoot. He just doesn't want it. But for some reason tonight, he took about 3 steps and put it a couple of feet in front of him and just like put it top corner, and I was like, that's amazing. So anyway, between that and hammer shots, it's been a pretty good night for the people on this on this broadcast. Anyway, so yeah, tomorrow night, Katie and Rebecca watch their show. Everybody watches their show. It's a great show. They're fun. They're funny. They have the most watched show on American Embers Network. And then let's see, Chris and Irish Tommy should be on Sunday after the game. Geez, that's going to be at 9 o'clock in the morning Eastern time. That game starts at 4 a.m. in California. Sally, you're going to be up at 5 a.m. for the game on Sunday?
Oh, I'll be awake 100%. I'm not missing that. It's going to be a long day because I go to work. Well, I guess I could take a nap. I don't go to work till 1. But, yeah, I'll be up. Absolutely.
What time do we play Sunday?
7 a.m. Eastern time.
Oof.
7 a.m. Early enough that I could watch.
I'll be at work, man, unfortunately. Jesus.
Oh, you will?
Yeah, I work Sundays, just extra money, and with the issues with the mom right now, I gotta take as many shifts as I can. So
I understand completely. No,
I can record West Ham and mute. I usually, if I don't watch a game, I mute our group chat.
I do the same thing.
Yeah,
if I don't watch a game, I do no Twitter, and no Facebook chat, and no social.
So
well, you could go on Instagram and probably doesn't. I do no social, and then you can watch it, and
Is that Peacock on Sunday or is it NBC?
I'm pretty sure it's NBC. I don't think we have a Peacock game until we play Fulham. Honestly,
I think it's NBC, even though it doesn't say what I'm looking at.
So, yeah,
and the reason is usually those early games, usually the games that are not 10 o'clock on Saturdays are NBC games.
Yeah, I could imagine that being the only game on at that time, especially 5 a.m. Mountain. I don't.
Yeah,
that's like noon or like 11 or noon in England at that time.
It's that is a noontime game. Yes, 7 a.m. here. 7 a.m. is noontime. Yeah, so it's a lunchtime game. That's got to be on Sky over there. That's got to be on. Got to be on NBC Sports here.
John, you're in England, right?
What? No.
You're in England, right?
No, I'm in Pennsylvania.
John's in the cradle of American liberty.
I don't know how long
Bad
you've been.
things happen in Philadelphia, Lee.
We used to have on Sunday.
I know that.
On Sundays in England, we used to have Super Sunday, and then we would have a Premiership Plus channel. You had to pay $10 or £10 per game for Premiership Plus. I wonder if that channel's still around. That's the fucking biggest waste of money. Yeah, it doesn't matter what game's on, you pay £10 for it.
What I miss is Setanta Sports. I loved Setanta. I had satellite.
That was pretty good.
Satellite years ago, and Setanta had everything. Setanta had Premier League, it had French League, it had Dutch League.
Yeah, the rugby.
It had the rugby, which is why I got it. Actually. I got it to watch the rugby. That's why I got it to begin with. It had the Six Nations. It had the Premiership and all that stuff. I watched Excelsior Rotterdam beat Feyenoord one time. Little tiny Excelsior. So I missed Atlanta. In other words, all this streaming, you got to stream everything 1,000 times over. You got to pay $5 a month to 60 different people. It's crap. But anyway, you all right? You're right. You're right there, Danny.
Huh?
You got a thicker beard than I do, by the way. How long have you been growing that thing?
Actually, I just trimmed it. I went to a wedding. I was in the wedding. So
okay, was that your actual brother's wedding?
No. It's like my best friend for 15 years.
Okay. Because you were talking to him in like Serbian or something.
Yeah. I know his language. So it's the first friend I ever met in America was him.
And where is he from?
He's from Serbia.
Oh, he is from Serbia. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I got that right. Oh, there you go. That's cool. I saw your pictures from New York. It looked like a lot of fun. It looked really cool.
Amazing. I was hungover for 4 days in a row.
Had you been there before? Had you been to New York before?
Yeah, I go to New York every year.
Oh, okay. So you know it then. Yeah. No, it's brilliant. Brilliant city.
Definitely a good time. I love it.
Yeah. Brilliant city. All right, cool. Well, listen, Danny, North Carolina, John, in the cradle of American liberty, as opposed to the hub of the universe, which is where David and I live, more or less. Well, David lives in the hub. I live in the sort of stratosphere of the hub. Sally in Colorado and Andrew in Tampa. Yes. That's not hard to do, though, to be fair. I passed that like the first show I did, minutes in Wilshire in a season. You get about 20 minutes in and you've already passed Wilshire. So anyway, appreciate you guys being on. Let's hope for a result this weekend, and come on, you Irons.
Come on, you Irons.
You Irons.